Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear students, we have started last time the circle drawing algorithm. So we continue this circle drawing algorithms. So we saw we can draw the circles many ways. Either we can use the circle formula, or we can use the trigonometric ratios, or we can have a midpoint circle drawing algorithm, or we can have the Bresenham's circle drawing algorithm, right? And we said that that if we have a circle, in this circle we do not need to draw all the points like a brute force, which will draw each and every point. Rather, if this circle is divided into 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if we put up the 45 degrees, and the circle is divided into 8 octants, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 octants. And then we said that we have the 8-way symmetry. In case of circle, we've got 8-way symmetry. That in an 8-way symmetry, what we do is we say that if we draw one particular point somewhere, we have the corresponding 7 points, in it, which can actually have in it. So if we draw 1 point, we have a 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. The corresponding 7 points, which we get automatically without computing, without calculating anything. How? We then saw that there are some rules that if you say this point, if it is 2, 3, that means, for example, if it's 2, 3, that means its x value is 2 and y value is 3. And if we move on the 45 degree, across the 45 degree in the same octant, in the same quadrant, and we move from one octant to other octant, but in the same quadrant. The same quadrant means this thing, right? In this is my one quadrant. I'm moving from here to here, so I'm moving from into the same quadrant. If this is a scenario, then xy becomes yx. So if it is 2, 3, it becomes 3, 2. That means x becomes 3, but it was y, and now whatever it is x, that becomes y, right? So 2, 3 becomes 3, 2. And if we move across the x-axis, okay, that means your x will remain same, but it changed the y. And if you move across y-axis, okay, that means your y will remain same, but it changed the x. That means if we move from here to here, for example, this point to this point, now I am moving across this axis. This is my y-axis, okay, because this is y-axis and this is x-axis, right? And from, if you see this x-axis, this y-axis, okay, this is the positive y and this is the negative y. And from here it is a positive x, and from here it is a negative x. We know that. Now if you move across the y-axis, then the sign of the x will change and y will stay same. So that means if it is the x is 2, it becomes negative 2, and y is 3, it stays as 3. But if you move across the x-axis, then the y-axis stays same. Okay, if you move across the x-axis, then whose sign will change? It will be the y sign which will change. The x remains same. Okay, say for example this is 2. So if I'm trying to find the point here, the x remains same, but the y will become negative 3. Why? Because when you move across the y-axis, x-axis, sorry. So when you move across the x-axis, basically you are going to the from positive y to negative y, or vice versa. If you are going from this to, say, if I make it here to make it a bit clearer. So this is the positive x is here, positive x, and negative x is on this side. Positive y is on this side, and negative y is on this side, right? So if you move across x-axis, okay, you are moving from, say, from this point to this point. Basically, if you see it was at this point the x was here, and for this point x is same, x doesn't change. But y has gone from, y is here, and for this point y is here. So y is gone from positive to negative, or if you have gone vice versa, from negative to positive, the sign will change. So if you move across x-axis, the y will change, okay? And if you move across the y-axis, say for example you move from here to here, for both of these points y is same. That is this point, y is same, okay? Say y was here 1 2 3 4 5, y is same. But x changes from positive x for this one here to the negative x here. So if you move across the y-axis, if it is 2 3 for example, okay, the x will change because you have moved across y-axis. The y will retain its value, but x will be negative now, whatever it is. Or if you move from here to here, x was negative 2, it will become positive 2. So change the sign and save the sign of y, and same is with the other thing, right? So that means if I use these rules, number one, that you move in a same quadrant from this octant to this octant, xy becomes yx. That stays same for each and every octant if you move from one octant to other octant, okay? So that means if I move from here to here, okay, so I got this rule. Now from here to here, that means you are moving across the x-axis. That rule will come into play, that change the y's sign, stay x as same. Then you move from here to here, that means you are in the same quadrant, change xy to yx, okay? Now from here to here, you apply the rule that you are moving across the y-axis, okay? That means the y is gonna stay same, but the x sign will change. From here to here, you apply the rule of the same quadrant and moving across the octant, xy becomes yx. So that means if it is negative 2, negative 3, it becomes negative 3, negative 2 here. Xy becomes yx, simple as it is, okay? So what I'm saying is that if this is my circle and these are these quadrants and this is a point 2 3, when I move on to the next quadrant, it becomes x becomes y, y becomes x, so it becomes 3 2, okay? Now here I am moving across the x-axis. This is x positive here, and from this it is x negative. This is the y positive on this side and y negative on this side. Now when I move from here to here, so I'm moving across the x-axis, okay, then the sign of the x remains same, but sign of y changes to negative 2. Now here is a point which you need to be careful. Now again you are moving from, in this quadrant now I'm talking about, you are moving from across this octet, okay, in the same quadrant, and I know xy becomes yx. The maximum time what students do is they say like this, that it becomes minus 2 3, xy becomes yx, right? But do not change the sign. That is the point here. You should not talk about sign. Sign stays with the y. So I am not, xy becomes yx, but without sign. Don't interchange the sign. जो ये negative 2 है, ये y का है, ये y से ही रहेगा, ठीक है ना? As you could see also from here that we are in, गोटा भी नहीं करना है, सीधी बात है कि हम पॉजिटिव x में ही है, तो x नेगेटिव नहीं जा सकता क्योंकि हम पॉजिटिव x में, नेगेटिव x तो यहाँ से है ना? हाँ, और हम नेगेटिव y में है, तो y पॉजिटिव नहीं जा सकता, because here this point the negative, it is on a negative side of a y, because यहाँ 0 0 है, पॉजिटिव साइड है, y ऊपर है. So if people do minus 2 and 3, that is wrong. Why? Because आपने y को पॉजिटिव कर दिया जबकि ये y नेगेटिव है, और x को आपने नेगेटिव कर दिया जबकि x पॉजिटिव में है. x ये है ना पॉजिटिव में, और y नेगेटिव में है, ठीक है ना? सो ये नहीं करना है. x एंड y के वैल्यूज चेंज करने हैं, लेकिन साइन वही रहेगी जो है. साइन y के साथ ही तो y के साथ ही रहेगी. लेकिन x and y की values change होंगे, ठीक है ना. Now from here to here, if you move, you are moving across the y axis, so y will stay same, that is -3, लेकिन x का sign change होगा, that is -2. As you could see, now you have moved to this part of x, that is a negative x, so x has to be negative, and also you are on a negative part of y, so y has to be negative also. You keep that thing also in mind. So from here to here, when you move, you are moving across the octant, okay, then across that 45-degree line in the same quadrant, then x becomes y and y becomes x, so this becomes 3, 2, and signs remain same, whatever the signs are there. I don't touch with the signs. Now from here to here, you are moving across the x-axis, okay, that means the x will remain same, that is -3, but y has moved to the positive side. You could see the y has moved to this side now, that is positive, so y can't be negative, it has to be positive too. So when you move across this, preserve the sign of x, change the sign of y. This is our rule. Now when we move from here to here, we are again in the same secant, in the same quadrant, and you're moving across this 45-degree. So interchange, this becomes 2 and 3, and a sign will stay same because it was -3, negative with the x, it will stay with the x, because it also makes sense, because here, as you could see, we are with the negative part of the x, so it has to stay same, negative, and we are on a positive side of y, so y has to be positive, but interchange them. So now from here to here, if you move from here to here, it is -2, 3, so this is x, y, and you're moving across the y-axis, stay the sign of y same, that is 3, change the sign of x, -2 becomes +2, as you could see. So from this you can choose any one. You can talk about, say for example, this versus this. You are moving across x-axis, then the value of x will remain same, and sign of the y change from 3 to -3. So you choose any one. It is your choice. Say for example, this versus this. Okay, here you are moving across the x-axis again, so x stays same, but the sign of y changes from -3 to +3, and so on. You can work out with any combinations whatsoever. Does it make sense? So it's coming. So if we get a 1 point, we can get a rest all of the points. Simple as it is. So we get all the combinations basically of x, y, y, x, x, -y, -y, x, -x, and so on. We get all those things, all the combinations of x and y in terms of negative and positives. Now that means if I draw each and every point of this piece, that is this octant, the rest of the circle will get created of its own. That means now my problem is only to draw these points. Okay, to draw this part of a line, of this part of a curve of a circle. If I could draw this part of a curved circle, all other points, all those points I have to calculate on this circle part, octant, then all other parts of the circle will be calculated of its own, so you don't have to be worried about that. Now question is how we draw these points, because rest of the points they will get in a free. Okay, that means if I draw this piece, the rest of the circle will be drawn of its own. You don't have to worry about that. But now question is how you draw this piece, all the points here. And that's where comes the Bresenham's or midpoint algorithm, circle drawing algorithm. Say for example, if you talk the Bresenham's algorithm, let us understand what is going on here first. So this is my coordinate system, for example. Okay, say this is the 0, 0. Okay, and I have here the pixels. Okay, consider these points. So it started from here for the circle. Consider these points as centers of the pixels. Okay, and I have to draw the secant. this piece of the cake. Only this line I have to draw, right? So for example, that line is this one. Okay, now say for example I'm at any point. If you could visualize this one, my job is, say I was at this point. Say for example, this is my point where I am right now. So if you could see here, from this side it is the x, and from this side it is the y, and this is my radius. This is my radius. That means this whole thing is the radius. Okay, or any line I draw to this, to the periphery, to the circumference, is the radius. Any line for that matter, right? If I draw this line, for example, this is my radius. Now when, say for example, I'm at this point, and now I am moving my line from this area, but I know these are the pixels. I can do this pixel or this pixel because I have to draw the pixels. I can't draw the exact point, the line, because I have not the vector graphics, the raster graphics. In vector graphics, we exactly calculate this circle formula and exactly draw the pixels on a screen, actually illuminate the screen exactly where the line is, this pink line is. But in the raster graphics, we do not have such thing. We have a pixels. Either we can choose this pixel or we can choose this pixel. Say this is my A pixel and this is my B pixel. Should I choose A pixel or should I choose B pixel? That is the decision to be taken. But when you come down, because you are coming down, when you are drawing this circle, you are coming down. Okay, so at this point, say for example at this point, what was my x and what was my y? Because this is my 0x, 0y, 0, 0. This is the center of the circle at the origin. Now if you look at it, x is, for this point, x is on this line, because x of this line, so this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. And for y, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and so on. So what will be on this point x? So, and what will be the y? The x will be 0, and what will be the y? Y will be exactly what the radius is, because this is the, from the periphery to the center, the line. So y will exactly be equal to radius. Does it make sense? So when I start, x is exactly 0 and y is radius. When I move on to the next pixel, say for example I'm here, okay, I have to choose this pixel or I have to choose this pixel. Which pixel I choose? That is my algorithm. Okay, now question is, should I choose this pixel or should I choose this pixel? Does it make sense? Because in raster graphs I have to choose this pixel. But if I, for example, choose this pixel, what will be its x and y? If I choose this pixel, what will be its x and y? That is the first question which comes in my mind. Now if I choose this pixel or this pixel, for both of these pixels x is 1, isn't it? Because this line tells me, because on this line is the x, this is my x-axis, and this line is my y-axis. Okay, now for this pixel as well as this pixel, exactly x is 1. That means if I was here when the x was 0, now for the next pixel to choose, from either or, from this or this, okay, for both of these x will be the whatever the previous x was plus 1. So that means if for this pixel x was x of I, and what will be for this pixel and this pixel? For both of these, x will be x of I plus 1. Does it make sense? It does make sense, because it's, if it is 0, it was 1. Say now we are here and we have to move from this to this. So what will be the x for this pixel? Whatever the x here is, that is 1, now it is 2. That means x is all the time incrementing. If I choose this pixel, this pixel, this pixel, this pixel, this pixel, x becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x is all the time increasing. What is happening to the y? So x of I is all the time, whatever the x of I was, the previous x was plus 1. It is all the time. So if I say in a better term that what is x of, not x of I should say x of I plus 1. What is the next x? Because x of I is this, x of 0. What will be x of 1? That is x of 0 plus 1. Because I this time is 0. For the first pixel, x is 0, I is also 0. Now for x of 0, x is 0. What is the for the x of 0 plus 1, I plus 1? That is whatever is the x of I, that is previous x, that is 0. Now plus 1. What will be the next x? So x of I plus 1, that is I is now 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 1 is 2. So x of 2. X of 2, what will be the x of 2? X of 2 will be whatever the x of I was, that is previous x, that is here, that is x of 1, okay, plus 1, because all the time increments. Now what will happen to the y? Okay, if this is here the y of I, this was x of I, this was y of I in the first time is r, because for this point the y is full what the radius is, okay, because y is full what the radius is. Now what will be the next y? What will be the y of I plus 1? That will be whatever the y was at the I position minus 1. Why? Because I'm decrementing. If for this y was 4, now for this guy, if I choose this pixel, then y will be 3. But there is a catch, because maybe I chose not this pixel, I chose this pixel. Then y will stay same as 4. Y doesn't change then. So y can be either y of I minus 1 or y of I only. It doesn't decrement. So x all the time increments. You start moving, because my problem is to draw this line and I have to draw all the pixels here, okay, and now I am seeing on my coordinate system, okay, that if I am trying to draw this circle, x is all the time incrementing, but y, for y we need to take a decision. Should we take this y or should we take this pixel or this pixel? For both of these pixel, x is incrementing, okay, but y for the top pixel is not incrementing. It stays as whatever the y was 4, it stays for this 4 also, but for this, if I choose this, then y decrements. So y can become y of I minus 1 or y of I. Okay, na? Now question comes in a mind, how I take this decision, that should I take this pixel, bottom pixel or top pixel? Do you understand this? So let me draw this little bit. Let me erase this and let me show you what I'm telling exactly. It's tough to erase actually. So what I am saying now is, if I have to draw this line, say this is firstly my circle, say for example this is that arc, and here you have to make an arc like this, and this is the center of the circle, and you have to take decision between two pixels. Should I take this pixel or should I take this pixel? Okay, does it make sense one side? Now say this is the pixel P2 and this is pixel P1. Now my question is, which pixel is to be chosen? Should I choose this or should I choose this? And what Bresenham says is, the pixel which is closer to the line, that should be chosen. If this pixel is closer to this line, then I will choose this P1, and if this pixel is closer, top pixel is closer to the line, then I should choose this P. Now how I will get this information that which pixel is closer? Okay, depending on that I need to calculate the decision variables. Now what I am doing here is I am drawing a line from pixel P1 to the center of a circle, and also from here to the center of a circle. Okay, now if you see the line I will draw in green, this piece of line and this piece of line. Okay, this piece of line is the distance of P2 from the exact actual line of a circle, and this piece of line, which is in the blue, is a distance of P1 from the circle, right? Now if you look at here, this whole thing from this, because this is the circle, blue line plus this pink line, from here to here, okay, this is the radius. So if you see from here, if I call it P1 here, P1, this is P1, this point is P1, from here to the whole line, this is your radius. But in this case, so that means radius is including this blue line, which is actually I have to calculate the distance of P1 from the, this is not P1, sorry, this is circle. P1 is this point, okay, this point is P1. I am saying that, one second, it's giving a little bit of plot kind of thing. So this is P1. So in this case, because radius means from circumference to the center, right? And here the radius is the whole thing. This pink line, which is a distance of P1 from the center of the circle, I call it distance of P1, dP1. And if you look at here, this is my radius, and this radius doesn't include the blue line. But if I say the total line from P2 to the center of the circle, this is not radius, this is the distance P2. Does it make sense? So this is distance P2, that is from the center of circle, P2 from the center of circle, that is total distance of P2, and P1 from the center of the circle, that is distance of P1. But if I say radius, then radius is bigger than the dP1. Why? Because radius ये blue line के include है, क्योंकि यहाँ circle से लेकर center तक वो radius होता है, तो उसमें वो blue भी आ रही है और ये pink भी आ रहा है. लेकिन इसमें जो है radius छोटा है dP2 से, क्योंकि dP2 जो है उसमें, क्योंकि वो circle P2 जो है circle के बाहर है, सो वो डिस्टेंस पिंक ब्लू वाली डिस्टेंस भी आ रही है और ये पिंक वाली भी आ रही है. सीधी सी बात है, क्योंकि P2 जो है, जो पिक्सल 2 है, वो ऊपर है, सर्कल के ऊपर है, बाहर है, तो जाहिर सी बात है कि रेडियस उससे छोटा ही होगा, तो dP2 से. अब जो ये पिंक, ये जो ब्लू वाली लाइन है, ओके, सो आई कॉल दिस एज डेल्टा P1 एंड आई कॉल दिस एज डेल्टा P2. आई कॉल दिस एज डेल्टा P2 and I call this blue line as delta P1. Now this delta P1 and delta P2, this will actually tell me who is closer to the actual line of a circle, actual that arc of a circle, right? So delta P1, my pens, I don't know what happened to them, they don't want to write. Delta P1, okay, and delta P2. So delta P1 and delta P2. So delta P1, if delta P1 is smaller, then definitely I will choose the P1. If delta P2 is smaller, then I will choose the P2. So this I will call as a decision variable, and I add them, delta P1 plus delta P2. Okay. If delta P1 plus delta P2 Okay, I add them together to get the decision variable. How we do that, I will tell you. Okay, but the first question is how we calculate all these things. How we calculate delta P1, how we calculate delta P2. This can all be done using the Pythagoras theorem. Okay, the Pythagoras theorem where we have perpendiculars and base. So if I draw it here, let me draw this this thing here. Okay, so this is my circle and this is that point, decision to be taken this or this, and this is here. So this whole thing is, what is this whole thing? Distance of P2, if this is P2 and if this is P1, and this distance is distance P1. Now if I draw a perpendicular here on this, okay, now in this I have a perpendicular, I have a base, and I have hypotenuse. So dP1 is my hypotenuse. Okay, so what will be my perpendicular and what will be base? Base will be this much, okay, and perpendicular is this much. In a base, that is actually the x distance. So what will be the x distance here? Because for x here is 0, and what is x here? That is whatever the previous x was. So this is here x of I plus 1. So that means my base, if I say my base, that will be equal to x of I plus 1. Does it make sense? What will be my perpendicular? This perpendicular nothing but what is the P1's y? If I chose P2, then y will stay same as the previous, because I was here and its y is same. Y doesn't change. So whatever the here y was, y of I, so here it will stay as y of I. So that means that my perpendicular is exactly y of I if I chose the P2. But if I chose P1 here, because for this one, this is my, sorry, I have done a wrong line. I should, because it is exactly on top of the P1. Okay, this is exactly on top of the P1, right? So here. So this is my perpendicular. So for this, perpendicular stays as y of I, but for this one, the perpendicular this much. So for this one, perpendicular will be y of I minus 1, because you are decrementing, because here if y was 7, which was the radius, for this one y will be 6. Okay, that means the perpendicular will be y of I minus 1. So that means this much is 6. This much perpendicular is 6. Or in terms of y, it is, if the previous y was 7, now its y will be 6. 1 lesser. Y of I minus 1. So if y of I was 7 minus 1, that is 6. If I chose this pixel, top pixel, then y will stay as what is y of I. Y of I, if y of I was 7, now y of I plus 1 will also be 7. That means now if I choose this pixel, the y of I plus 1, that means next y, that will be also the same. That is whatever the y of I was. Okay, so y of I plus 1 will be nothing but whatever the y of I is, that is equal to 7. Does it make sense what I am saying? So it doesn't change here. So that means if I calculate the hypotenuse square, okay, so hypotenuse for this one is nothing but the dP2. For this thing, hypotenuse nothing but the dP1. For both of them, base will stay same, x of I plus 1. And for both perpendiculars will be, for this one, the P1, the perpendicular will be y of I minus 1. For this one, it will be y of I, that is 7 in this case. For this, it will be 6. Okay. So what will be my hypotenuse square? So I know Pythagoras theorem, hypotenuse square equals to base square plus perpendicular square. So who is the hypotenuse here in case of this one, the P2? That is your dP1 cos square is equal to base cos square. What is my base? Now for both of them, base is x of I plus 1 cos square plus perpendicular cos square. If I talk about the top one, the P2, and right now it is the P1, okay, I'm talking of P1, that's this guy. So what will be my perpendicular? Perpendicular would be whatever the y of I is minus 1 cos square. Now if I take dP2 cos square, that means if I am talking about this one, dP2 cos square, right, then it will be the base cos square. Now base, if I cut this square, then it will becomes under root. If I cut this square, this whole thing comes here, becomes root. Same is there, if I cut this square, it becomes root. And it is the x, for both of these, x of I plus 1, because this one base for both of them are same. For this point and this point, for both of them base is same. That is x of I plus 1 cos square plus, but for this one, perpendicular is what? Can anyone tell me? Because now this is dP2, that means this one. P2 is this one here. So that means this one, okay? This much. What is that? That is whatever the y of I is cos square. So no minus 1. So doesn't decrement. Why doesn't decrement if we choose this pixel? Okay? Does it make sense? So if I do here the delta P1 and I want to calculate delta P2. I want to calculate this delta P1, that is this blue line and this blue line. Now in this scenario, the bigger one, okay, P2 to dP1, that is the full is, that is dP2 is the full. If I do it minus R, so I am doing this full minus R, क्योंकि ये पूरा जो है इसको मैं ये R is circle to the center, वो रेडियस है, और टोटल मेरा क्या है dP2. अगर मैं dP2 को माइनस करूंगा रेडियस, ठीक है, वो निकलेगा ना ये छोटी लाइन, ये ब्लू लाइन, दैट इज माय डेल्टा P2. So dP2 minus R. Same way I do here, delta P2 is dP1 minus R. Now dP1 is this much, R is bigger. So that means this will come negative. This will come all the times negative, and this will come all the times positive, delta P1. So because why? Because why come this positive? Because dP2 is bigger than radius. dP2 is bigger than radius, so this will come minus of it, comes positive all the time. But if I do here dP1, is it dP1? Yes, dP1 minus radius. Now radius is bigger than dP1. Radius is full from this line to the center. This is my radius. Now radius is bigger. So that means what? That means if I do dP1 minus radius, this will come to be, this blue line will come up, but this will be negative, because why? Radius is bigger. That is why if I do dV, decision variable is equal to delta P1 plus delta P2, because I know delta P2 all the times comes negative. Okay? So if delta P2 is now bigger, अगर ये जो ये ब्लू लाइन जो है बड़ी है, तो उसका मतलब है कि मैं ये चूज नहीं करूंगा, P2 चूज करूंगा, मैं ऊपर वाला चूज करूंगा, ठीक है ना? सो अगर ये बड़ा है, तो अगर डेल्टा P2 बड़ा है, डेल्टा P2 मुझे पता है वो नेगेटिव आने वाला है क्योंकि इसका R बड़ा है, सो ये दैट मींस कम्स -9, और फर्ज कीजिए ये 4 ही आ रहा है, ये डिस्टेंस 4 ही आ रहा है, यानी कि P2 नजदीक है लाइन से और ये 9 की दूरी पर है, ये 4 की दूरी पर है, तो जाहिर सी बात है मैं P2 लूंगा, ऊपर वाला लूंगा, P1 नहीं लूंगा, ठीक है ना? बाय द वे मैंने यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ कर दिया, ये डीपी डेल्टा P1 है और ये 2 है, ठीक है ना? सो डेल्टा P1 विल बी नेगेटिव and delta P2 will be positive. So in this case this will be negative, delta 9 plus 4. Minus 9 plus 4, that is minus 5. So it will come negative. So decision variable will come negative when? If your delta P1 is bigger. Delta P1, this one, if this is bigger. Because I know delta P1, this is delta not S, will come negative. And if delta P1 is bigger, that is negative, bigger negative, then this decision variable will come negative. So I understand if my decision variable comes negative, that means this blue line distance is more. Okay, so that means the scenario is like this. This is line, this is the pixel. Say it is only 4 दूरी पर है और ये 9 दूरी पर है, तो ये ज्यादा दूर है, तो मुझे P1 नहीं करना चाहिए, मुझे P2 करना चाहिए, ये वाला पिक्सल, क्योंकि ये नजदीक है इस लाइन से। ये मुझे पता चलेगा अगर डिसीजन वेरिएबल नेगेटिव होगा। अगर डिसीजन वेरिएबल पॉजिटिव है, उसका मतलब क्या है? पॉजिटिव कब आएगा? ये कब पॉजिटिव आएगा? जाहिर सी बात है जब डेल्टा P2 बड़ा होगा, क्योंकि ये नेगेटिव आ गया। जैसे फर्ज कीजिए 9 है और अब ये यहां से 11 आ रहा है, सो डेल्टा P2 कम्स बिगर। व्हेन डेल्टा P2 कम्स बिगर, दिस इज 11 और ये नेगेटिव 9 है, तो आंसर आएगा 2, पॉजिटिव 2, तो आंसर पॉजिटिव आएगा। सो जब डिसीजन वेरिएबल का आंसर पॉजिटिव आएगा, उसका मतलब है कि डेल्टा P2 ही बड़ा है। दैट मीन्स दिस लाइन इज बिगर, दैट मीन्स सिनेरियो इज लाइक दिस। Say it was 9, now it is coming 11. So ये दूरी पे है, ये P2 जो है वो बहुत दूर है इस लाइन से as compared to P1। तो इसलिए मुझे, अगर ये ही P1 नजदीक है लाइन के, तो मुझे P1 पिक्सल ही करना चाहिए। सो डिसीजन में कैसे लूंगा? ऑन द बेस ऑफ डिसीजन वेरिएबल। इफ डिसीजन वेरिएबल कम्स नेगेटिव, मुझे पता है कि उसका मतलब है कि ये वाली लाइन बड़ी है और ये छोटी है, तो मुझे P2 लेना चाहिए। अगर ये पॉजिटिव आ रहा है, उसका मतलब ये है कि ये ही वाली छोटी है और ये बड़ी है, तो इसलिए मुझे नीचे वाला पिक्सल करना चाहिए। ठीक है ना? डज इट मेक सेंस? आप थोड़े से ये पॉइंट्स दिमाग में रखें, कॉपी पे डालें, इसको जहन में डालें, ठीक है, कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं। ठीक, यू हैव टू कीप दीज थिंग्स इन माइंड कि हम कर क्या रहे हैं। ठीक है ना? सो कीप ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स इन माइंड, ट्राई टू राइट इट ऑन अ कॉपी, फिगर इट आउट यूरसेल्फ कि DP1 ये हो गया, वो DP2 हो गया, ये बड़ा डिस्टेंस है, ये छोटी डिस्टेंस है, तो मैं क्या कर रहा हूं। और जब मैं सर्कल बना रहा हूं, क्योंकि मुझे ये ऑक्टेंट, इस ऑक्टेंट का ये आर्क मुझे बनानी है खाली, तो इसमें सारे पॉइंट्स मेरे को चाहिए। तो डिसीजन लगेगा, क्योंकि जो पिक्सल हम ड्रा करेंगे कि ऊपर वाला पिक्सल करना है, नीचे वाला पिक्सल करना है, दोनों का एक्स सेम रहेगा, लेकिन ऊपर वाला अगर करेंगे तो वाई उसका सेम रहेगा, प्रीवियस का जो वाई था, लेकिन अगर नीचे वाला करेंगे तो वाई डिक्रीमेंट होता है। तो यानी कि कुल मिला के एक्स हमेशा आपको एक्स जो i+1 यानी कि नेक्स्ट एक्स जो आपका है, वो हमेशा x ऑफ i जो था पुराना x, उसका +1 होगा। लेकिन जो y ऑफ i+1 है, जो नेक्स्ट y है, या तो ये y ऑफ i ही रहेगा, जो पुराना y ऑफ i था वही रहेगा, या ये y ऑफ i -1 हो जाएगा, -1 कम हो जाएगा उससे, क्योंकि हम नीचे आ रहे हैं तो कम कर रहे हैं। डिपेंडिंग ऑन द डिसीजन वेरिएबल, डिपेंडिंग ऑन डिसीजन वेरिएबल क्या बताता है कि कौन सी डिस्टेंस बड़ी है। क्या लाइन जो आपकी है, यानी कि ये जो लाइन आपकी जो जा रही है यहां से, ये इस पिक्सल के करीब जा रहे हैं कि इस पिक्सल के करीब जा रही है। अगर इस पिक्सल के करीब जा रहे हैं तो मुझे ये वाला पिक्सल करना चाहिए इल्यूमिनेट, अगर इस पे तो मुझे ये करना चाहिए। तो यानी कि इससे भी पता चलता है कि स्मूथ लाइन नहीं बनने वाली है। अगर हमको जूम 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 इन करेंगे तो वो स्टेयर केस इफेक्ट आ जाएगा, लाइन स्टेयर केस की बनेगी ऐसे कुछ, ठीक है ना, वो स्ट्रेट नहीं बनेगी, ऐसी शार्प लाइन नहीं बनेगी, वो वेक्टर ग्राफिक्स में बनती है। ठीक है, तो हमें जूम इन उतना नहीं करना है, हमें जूम आउट करके ही देखना है, तो हमें सर्कल दिखेगा बाद में वो नेकेड आई से। ठीक है ना, चाहे वो हमने ये पिक्सल किया हो या ये पिक्सल किया हो, लेकिन हम चाहते हैं कि जो नजदीक वाला पिक्सल है वो हम करें ताकि हमारी लाइन थोड़ी सी बेहतर दिखे। ठीक है ना, तो ब्रेसेनहम का यही इशू था कि हमें अगर ये एक बनाना है तो ऑल ऑफ दीज पॉइंट्स हमें निकालने हैं, तो उन पॉइंट्स को कैसे निकालेंगे हम, डिपेंडिंग ऑन डिसीजन वेरिएबल। तो क्या हमारी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गई? नहीं, बिकॉज वीडियो ज़्यादा जा रहा है, इस 45 मिनट्स बाद में स्टूडेंट कंप्लेन करते हैं कि स्टूडेंट वीडियो बड़ा था। अब इसके बाद जो हमें करना है काम, वो ये करना है कि हमारे जो ये डिसीजन वेरिएबल्स है, इनिशियल डिसीजन वेरिएबल, व्हाट विल बी द नेक्स्ट डिसीजन वेरिएबल, ओके, इनको मैं कैसे कैलकुलेट करूंगा इन टर्म्स ऑफ माय एक्स एंड वाइज, नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ डेल्टा P1 डेल्टा P2, but in terms of my what is delta P1's this x and y, and what is delta P x and y2 in terms of the Pythagoras theorem. So I will calculate the formulas, because here the delta P1, what is this delta P1, delta P2, what is this delta P2, because I'm adding them together to get my decision variable. But why from I get this delta P1 and why from I get this delta P2, okay, I have to calculate that ना, तब तक डिसीजन वेरिएबल तब निकलेगा कि भाई नेगेटिव है तो ये करो, पॉजिटिव है तो वो करो, लेकिन ये डेल्टा P1 और P2 इसमें ऐड करने जा रहा हूं, है क्या चीज, और इनिशियल डिसीजन वेरिएबल क्या होगा, फिर नेक्स्ट टाइम का डिसीजन वेरिएबल क्या होगा, ठीक है। इन चीजों को हम दूसरे वीडियो में इंशाल्लाह ताला करेंगे, बिकॉज ना राइट नाउ आई एम ऑन एग्जाम ड्यूटी, इट्स कंटिन्यूअस एग्जाम ड्यूटी, सो वी विल बी लर्निंग बाय द वीडियोज, दो वी विल नॉट स्टॉप लर्निंग, एंड this is the order of the day, okay, watching videos, coming to the class. Even UGC has suggested to create the video, the MOOCs and all, and the lecture oriented thing is gone. Actually, I'm telling you time and again, it is actually you guys have to read the books, watch the videos, then come to the class actually for discussion. So teacher बोलता रहेगा, student कुछ नहीं करता रहेगा, ये जमाना actually गया। लेकिन मेरी समझ में ये नहीं आ रहा कि आप जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं हमारे, वो मैच्योर क्यों नहीं हो रहे हैं, वो उनका एमसीए में आप लोग हो और आप कोई खुद से पढ़ने के लिए तैयार ही नहीं है। मतलब वी हैव टू टीच ईच एंड एवरी टॉपिक। मैंने आज तक जितने भी चीजें पढ़ाई उसमें ईच एंड एवरी टॉपिक आई हैव टू टीच। दिस इज नॉट द वे, बिकॉज वट एवर आई एम टीचिंग इट इज माई अंडरस्टैंडिंग। जो आपका एक अपना क्रिएटिविटी है, जो अपना आपको ग्रो होना है, वो नहीं होगा इससे, unless and until you do not try to read books, try to explore things, try to put your brain on it, because when you put your brain on it to understand, जो मैंने ये सारे पॉइंट्स बताए, जब आप खुद से एक बुक से पढ़ के और वगैरह वगैरह चीजें करके आप अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहते हो, एक्चुअली यू ग्रो, योर ब्रेन ग्रोज, you become a better programmer, better, your understanding grows. Do you understand? वरना आपकी वो क्रिएटिविटी, वो जो है, आप कॉपी कैट बनोगे। आप हर बार क्या होगा, आप कॉपी कैट बनोगे, आपको सिर्फ रेडीमेड चाहिए होगा, क्योंकि आपको खुद की वो सोचने की कैपेबिलिटी जो अभी होनी थी वो नहीं होगी। इसलिए मैं तो पढ़ा ही रहा हूं, ठीक है, आई विल बी टीचिंग ईच एंड एवरीथिंग, बट दैट्स नॉट द वे, ओके। I'm thinking about it, how I get you know going along and all that, लेकिन अभी मुझे आइडियाज नहीं आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि बिकॉज मैं देख रहा हूँ कि स्टूडेंट के अंदर वो कैपेबिलिटी जो होनी चाहिए वो है नहीं, उसके अंदर वो मोटिवेशन पावर जो है वो है नहीं, वरना आपके रिसोर्सेज तो आजकल पूरे इंटरनेट के ऊपर है, यू कैन डू एनीथिंग, यू हैव टू फाइंड इट आउट। तो स्टूडेंट क्यों नहीं कर रहा, क्यों वो पीछे रह रहा है, दिस इज अ बिग क्वेश्चन। जैसे हम ये एल्गोरिथम्स करते हैं, इनको अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप करते हैं कि कैसे किया, इसी तरीके से ये भी है कि इट इज वेरी सीरियस इशू, आई एम टेलिंग यू दैट योर लर्निंग कर्व actually stops when I explain everything. Do you understand? Your learning curve stops. You doesn't grow because you are not working your brain on it. ठीक है ना? अब कितनी बदकिस्मती की बात है कि we make these videos. It's a night time right now. Everybody is sleeping and I'm making these videos for you. And many people don't see it. Many students don't see it. ये कितनी बदकिस्मती की बात है कि ये इसको कॉपी करना जो मैंने अंडरस्टैंड करवाया उसको भी नहीं समझना, ये किस हद तक बुरी बात है। Where are you going? Just ask this question to yourself. Okay? Then ask yourself that should you be in an MCA class or not? Justify your seat. If you are in an MCA class, justify that you should be there and you have to do it. So anyways, see you next time. Until then, ma salama.